Coming to you live from a longship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, it's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host, Kevin Lenihan. With me as always is John Ferris. John, how you rowing today?
Gohandag!
Hey, that's probably a Scandinavian. Is that Norwegian?
Apparently it's like Old Norse. I might have said it completely wrong as well, by the way. Yeah, well, this was a very quick, quickly looked it up and tried it. And as we know, my pronunciation of most things is terrible. Case in point, I couldn't say most.
None of the other rowers on the longboat seem to pay much mind to it. What is that supposed to mean?
It's a good day.
Oh, as in just a general greeting.
Yep,
yes,
just a general greeting. I don't know if it's time specific either. I might have used it at the wrong time. Well, it depends when you listen to the podcast.
I suppose. Well, we're in the midday blaring sun in the middle of the ocean right now. We have been indentured into service, as it were, by some marauding Vikings.
Better than a lot of the alternatives that they...
Yeah, I mean, there's way worse things could have happened to us when they came to our quaint little village and took us away from there. Not really. They're treating us quite well so far, because we're doing well. To be honest, I haven't been rowing for the last 15 minutes and no one seems to have noticed, so I think maybe we could get away with watching some movies here.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to. I mean, yes, this is better than the alternative, as we said, but at the same time, I don't think I want to be a slave, probably. I would imagine is the best case scenario here with them.
Yeah, which sucks. So we don't know what's going to happen once we get to shore. So we got to figure out what the hell we're going to do when we get there. Whether or not we should make good friends with these guys and become the lads, or escape, or try to fight them. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like option 3 there is probably not going to work out for us.
Oh, we can try.
Yeah, we'll give it a go. Aye, so this week I've brought along a little mini laptop and a USB thing because I'm aware, of course, these guys came from the past and don't know what it is, so they let us have it, which is nice of them. So on my little drive here, I have 3 movies here. So I've got Pathfinder, directed by Marcus Nispel from 2007. I have Valhalla Rising from 2009, directed by, and now I've said this guy's name many times, and I've always just assumed that it's pronounced how it's spelled, but I feel like it's probably not. I always call him Nicolas Winding Refn.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard it's right.
Okay, that's all right.
Every time I get to the Refn bit, I always freak out and go, "Whoa!"
Maybe you don't pronounce the F. I don't know. It could be Ren. I don't know. And we also have Outlander from 2008, directed by Howard McCain. So I say we huddle in the center of the ship here and have a wee juke around the warm glow of my laptop and watch these movies. Let's go. Alrighty, so John, what did you think of Pathfinder?
Yeah, Pathfinder isn't great, unfortunately. For the first kind of major point I would make about it is I know you'll understand this term. It's a white savior movie.
Oh my god, that was the thing. I must have said that out loud about 15 times while I was watching the film. Absolutely, you're 100% right.
And for anyone who doesn't know, a white savior movie is generally a movie where the protagonist will be a white male who ends up in a, let's say, like a tribe or different cultures kind of territory, or like working with them. So another great example is The Last Samurai. The Last Samurai apparently was a white man, specifically Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But so it's always a wee bit. It's kind of always been a thing in Hollywood, really.
Yeah.
But I think more recently it becomes kind of difficult to watch because it's always ham-fisted, and they always follow the same pattern, the same thread.
Yeah, it's like they all saw Dances with Wolves and missed the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because that's that is one that kind of you think will be a white savior movie, but he's not really a savior at all. In fact, he feels he tries to be.
Yeah. Like I thought this movie was stereotypical racist, lazy, badly written, poorly edited, extremely poorly constructed.
Oh yeah.
I felt offended, I think, by most of this film, just that they thought I would be entertained by it or would be able to follow it.
Just you made a point there of the editing, and I couldn't even allow that just to escape just being mentioned, because I think it really needs to be hammered home just how bad the editing is. Like the slow-mo and the cuts in it are so painful. Like there was points where I thought they were playing it for laughs, and then I realized that they weren't. But I laughed along anyway. The action sequences are a blur. They'd give you a headache. They give you migraines trying to watch and trying to, as you said there, trying to kind of follow what's actually happening or where people are, or the amount of inconsistencies in this movie, and like one that stands out for some reason, even though like it's riddled with them, is when the village the villagers find this young white Viking boy who grows up to be what do you call him? Oh,
Carl Urban.
My mind just went blank.
In the movie, I believe his name is Ghost.
Yes,
they call him in the film. Well, but I think we should just refer to him as Carl Urban for the rest of this.
Yeah. But he leaves. He just happens to be away from the camp hunting or something whenever Vikings appear and attack his village that brought him up. Mm-hmm. And there's a scene where it shows you him like across on a completely like different landmass almost.
Yeah, he's over the other side of a lake, it looks like, or something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really mental, but the way it's edited and the way everything kind of proceeded, it seemed like he had only just left the village and they got attacked. And I just sit there confused going, where the fuck is he? Like, how quick is he? What is happening? Where is he in relation to all this? What was going on? Like, it's just one of many, many kind of issues that I think anyone would have trying to follow this movie.
Yeah, I thought, what you said about the action scenes, they are all over the place. Time seems to jump at random.
Yeah.
And non-specifically, it'll be nighttime and daytime and nighttime in the space of what feels, from the editing and maybe even the narrative, a few minutes later. But it goes from night to day to night.
Yep.
In a period in the movie of about 3 minutes at one point, and I was very confused by what was happening. Also, I mean, we got to talk about the stereotyping, because it is rife. The native peoples in this movie, oh my god, they fall, as far as I could tell, they fall into 3 basic archetypes. They have bumbling fuckwits.
Yep.
They are flailing cowards.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are juju magic men. And that is it. Those are your 3. Or they're a woman.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which is a completely different character trait.
Yes. Being a woman, which basically means standing about and looking sad, I think. And that's it. It's just a disgrace. It is absolutely disgraceful. I feel like I sometimes lean into hyperbole, but I really mean this. Everyone creatively involved in this film should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
This is shameful.
It even looks quite ugly. Like it's the colours seem saturated or something. And I mean, this is probably due. Well, I was going to say it's probably due to the fact to a lot of like scenes maybe being shot at the wrong time of day, but then that completely confuses me, because just as you said, there's all those editing problems of like. A scene will change from night to day almost instantly. So I'm not quite sure why the colours seem saturated, or I don't know. It's just very odd. But yeah, it looks ugly, and there's parts of it that made me think the director wanted it to be a horror movie. And even then, it would be bad because the Vikings in this are treated almost like monsters.
They dress them in such a way to make them look that way. I think you're right. Yeah, when you see them in silhouette. Yeah.
There's a lot of like jump scares, and then there's specifically whenever the Vikings are introduced and they're attacking this village and they're going about the woods, they don't talk or communicate with each other for a while. They just make these monster noises, and it's not me being like completely ignorant and not realizing they're speaking a different language, which I think they might be Icelandic, or I can't remember, but
I think maybe they're Norwegian. They never get specific, and I don't have the ear for Scandinavian languages to tell them one from the other.
Yeah, but
so I don't know.
This isn't even that. It's not me not knowing. Oh, that's an Icelandic or Norwegian phrase that I've just misinterpreted as monster noise, but it is just them going.
They roar at each other from different parts of the forest and stuff. It's very stupid.
And like these like brief jump scares and things like that, or well maybe not jump scare, maybe that's a bit too much, but there's like the stinger music for them like trying to grab someone, and it's just ridiculous. It just doesn't. It upsets there's no like cohesive tone throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's like there's a part of the movie where they're trying to sneak up on people, like up on the tribe or whatever. But then we get a view of the tribe, and then they hear the Vikings blowing their horns.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, were they not like saying that they were gonna like they're tracking these people and they're trying to sneak up on them, but then they're just like, let's just blow a war horn and let them know we're coming. It was literally seemed to be just for that monster shot of what's that, and they all look and be scared of the monsters that are coming. Yeah, and it's a shame because this movie has a guy that I like a lot in it. I have a lot of time for Clancy Brown.
Yeah,
all right, who plays our
the
lead.
Kurgan himself.
Yeah, the Kurgan and the Kurgan and Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants. He's great. He's a really good actor, and he's like, I feel like he was. You look at this and you're like, he was cast in this because they saw Highlander and they wanted that guy.
Yep.
And I like him. He was in actually recently. He was in that Promising Young Woman. He's in that. He plays the protagonist's father, and he's just lovely in it. He's so just you kind of just, you're like, he's the guy you want to get dad hugs from, and but like in this, he's like, I'm the monster man, rawr, I'm going to chop everybody's heads off, and that's it. And everything around him sucks in this movie, and he's a big imposing figure, but. That's all I can really say for this movie is that I enjoyed the fact that he was there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the problems with this movie are myriad, so I feel like we just need to focus down on a few things. So
it's like a pick and mix. Just pick whatever you want to really focus on.
I don't want to. I want to pick a couple of things and just get low. Like in a pick and mix, you pick the 3 things you like and you fill up on them.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, the editing is terrible and it's confusing. I think we've covered that okay.
Yeah.
We don't know what time of day it is or how long has passed or what time period things are happening over, which is actually quite important at some points, and you're just left baffled. But the main thing is they have people... It happens in movies a lot, usually poorly written movies.
Mm-hmm. Which this is.
Where they just have things happen because... they've run out of things to do with characters. And there's one scene in this movie where they do that for about 50 characters all at once. So they do the stupidest thing where they basically have the scene from Predator where he's setting up all the traps for the Predator. Except it's Karl Urban setting up all these traps for the Viking people. And he's told all the other guys in the tribe, now you lads, leave this to me.
Yep.
Stay away. And they say, right, Nate, cool.
Listen to me, I'm the white man.
Yeah, pretty much. And then for some reason, for a reason I couldn't really fathom, they just suddenly decide, you know what, we've waited here for a few hours, now we're just going to run in the direction that he is.
Yeah.
Just blindly, like idiots. wherever he is, and he set up all these traps, and then conveniently, right when the Vikings show up and are about to fall into his traps, all of the native people come running over a hill and fall into the trap, one after the other, in the scene that I just couldn't help thinking looked like something out of Monty Python.
It really does. It
was like something from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you know, like the bits when, like, is it Lancelot, who's the psycho, just kills everybody? It's like when he's just slaughtering people, it's that, but it's a bunch of people just running into a hole and killing themselves like idiots. I was laughing and laughing and laughing, and then I stopped laughing, and I was like, this is appalling now. Because they just went, we don't need this tribe. We need this tribe to not be around anymore. We needed them for emotional bits when they were running away, and now we need to get rid of them. So we're literally just going to have them all run into a hole full of spikes, and that's going to be that. And it was fucking terrible, and I think I was laughing mostly because I couldn't believe they were doing it.
Yeah. There's a deleted scene where one of them's like, I'm not dead yet.
He says he's not dead. No, he is, I swear. Yeah, it's that kind of bullshit. It's terrible. In fact, it's not the only bit of the film that reminded me of Monty Python.
Oh, there's another snowboarding bit?
Oh my god, he's losing. He luges down a hill on his shield. And it's like, just conveniently, Vikings, they all have sleds ready to go to chase him. Like a fucking James Bond movie.
Like Viking snowmobiles.
Yeah, they're Viking snowmobiles to chase fucking Viking James Bond down a fucking hill. And it was fucking stupid. And like, sometimes in movies that's fine, you're like, I'm just gonna go along with this, but the fact that they were so fucking self-serious about the tone and everything before that just made me just like, I just wrote it off right away. I was like, this is disgusting. And then you have the other Monty Python scene where he's drowning, and then he's under the water having a conversation with a guy with the Juju Magic Man, the Pathfinder, the titular ghost. Pathfinder, the ghost. And like, they're like, you can see that it's actors underwater mouthing their lines and dubbing it over afterwards, and it just seems so ham-fisted and bad. I was laughing my leg off at that bit as well.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of this movie laughing, but I was kind of sad while I was laughing.
Yeah, and I don't think they made this as a comedy. I don't think any part of this is meant to be funny, or I can't even think of them trying to put in like funny bits or funny dialogue. So yeah, I can imagine if that's not their intent, because I think that's important as well when you come to watch a lot of these movies, is the intent. And this is meant to be like an action kind of thing, like a period piece in the sense that it's set during the Vikings' discovery of America, or well, I suppose they've already discovered it earlier, but it's them trying to
this
invade.
Is like the second wave of them coming back to finish what they started, I think, is the idea. And
like, they could have went the very historical route with it. They didn't do that. They're clearly going for this action-packed, exciting thing, and then shoehorned in as this white savior bullshit, which doesn't even make they don't even justify that. No. Not that that's justifiable, but they try to in a way that he's the only one, because the natives are all using their wooden spears and their stone their stone weapons, and he has a sword. And he's like, oh, this has to be used. He even cuts the guy's spear.
Defeat the power of metal.
Yeah.
Essentially. I just started talking about metal at that point. Making jokes about heavy metal and thinking that I was really funny. I don't think I was.
Yeah, it fails to do what I think it set out to do, which is make an entertaining popcorn movie.
Their entire justification for him knowing what to do against the Vikings is that they left him there when he was like 7.
Yeah.
And so he somehow knows all of their fighting strategies from being 7 and abandoned here.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, if he was like 15 or something.
Yeah.
But it's harder to cast that when you already have your adult actor cast, and then you're trying to look for a teenager that looks like someone who would grow up to be Karl Urban. Where it's much easier to find a child, and you can more believably think, oh, this 7-year-old grew up to be Karl Urban because people change so much.
Yeah.
But like, as far as the narrative goes, it made it just even less easy to hold on to.
Yeah.
I think.
But yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those ones where I don't think I have much more to say about it, because
nor do I. There's not a lot to say about it apart from that it's bad.
Yeah,
I think
it's like it even tries it. It does the. It's just what you said earlier, very near the start there, where it's very like by the numbers. There's nothing new in it, but it fails at even rehashing all this crap. Like their emotional death scenes, the kind of mute guy who follows him about,
who was doomed immediately.
Yeah,
like, well, he's gonna die, and they're gonna try and make me care about it.
All these things in it that are we've seen a million times, including, I keep harping on about it, but the white savior thing, it was completely like it was bait out, to use our Belfast parlance. It was bait out a long time ago. This movie was made in 2007, and it was already tired at this stage.
Like by the end of the 90s, people were sick of that crap.
Exactly. So I mean, yeah, what can you say about Pathfinder apart from don't watch it?
Yeah, I think that's it, John. That's our quick capsule review of Pathfinder. Don't watch it. Okay, well, it sounds like if we look over to the starboard side, if you look to your starboard side, John,
is that left or right?
That is right.
Oh wait,
left,
I'm facing
right.
The opposite way of you. So is it my left or your right?
You know what? I'll just explain to you what I see. In the over the far horizon, some little peaks have crested, so I think we're approaching land. Probably in the next hour or so, I would say. It looks like we're going to make landfall. I don't know what these guys are saying. There's a big, huge guy here beside me, keeps smiling and nudging me and handing me this weird drink. It tastes kind of like old rotten milk. I don't know, but he seems to like it. You know, I don't want to be rude. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
you know?
your best just.
But he seems a real friendly guy. He's nice. So
I bet he is.
Maybe we'll get him. No, let's not get him. I don't think he's going to understand this one because we'll have to put on subtitles. So no, if we don't need those. So I'm going to say let's have a wee chat about Valhalla Rising. John, what did you think about Valhalla Rising?
Well, I might be kind of viewed as a bit of a Luddite, maybe, with my views on Valhalla Rising, because I kind of found it a bit kind of self-important and pretentious for the most part. I enjoyed the beginning of it. Ooh. And I didn't even mind the kind of slow pace of it, but I kind of, for me anyways, by kind of the midpoint or around about it's like broke up into parts, and I think it's around part 3 or part 4 that they get on this boat to travel supposedly to the Holy Land. They end up I think it's actually Canada they arrive at.
Yeah,
but so. It just feels like after this point they almost sacrifice kind of any narrative or characterization or even context just for symbolism. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me. There's a lot of people really seem to absolutely adore this film, and if you have an opposing opinion about it, you're just put into that Luddite category. You just didn't get it, which maybe I didn't. Maybe that's what happened. But I mean, I kind of found, I caught on quite quickly that Mads Mikkelsen's character was like a stand-in for Odin.
Yeah, it's really on the nose.
It's really on the nose, but apparently a lot of people seem to think that this is, quite layered and hidden.
the kid literally calls him One Eye,
Yeah.
which is one of Odin's names.
And Odin sacrificed his eye to get knowledge, and Mads Mikkelsen's character is constantly getting these visions of the future.
Yeah, premonitions, if you
which
will.
One would say is knowledge. To know the future is very knowledgeable. But I mean, it's not to say that there was stuff I enjoyed. In particular, the cinematography is beautiful in it.
Absolutely, I think that's one thing you can't fault this film on is how good it looks.
No,
it's the landscapes are beautiful and beautifully framed.
Yes, yeah.
I'll say this. I really like this film a lot. There was some, obviously, I'm not 100% on it. I'm not 100% like behind it. I think some of those little intercut vision bits in particular.
Yeah, with the red filter.
Yeah, were a little silly. There's one in particular where it's a guy leaning over and pointing at the camera, like that actually made me laugh a little bit. And I know it was supposed to seem sinister, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But I thought it was beautiful. I thought I liked how quiet it was.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there was any real music in it so much. There's a little bit of
very subtle,
extremely subtle and sort of atmospheric.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was very, very quiet right up until the points where it was suddenly very loud, usually with people screaming in pain.
Yeah.
And then went back to being very quiet very suddenly again. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that it was like everyone's supposed to be Vikings, but I assume they shot it all in Scotland. Like that part of it. They're all Scottish actors anyway.
Only Mads Mikkelsen's character, One Eye or Odin or whatever you might want to call him, only he's a Viking. The other ones are Scottish.
Yeah, because in when they're all credited as being Vikings.
Are they?
The group that he goes with are credited as the Christian Vikings.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so technically, I know. See, that's the thing. If I didn't look this up, I probably would have been in the same boat as you.
Yeah, I thought they were.
Yeah, they don't really establish it, but basically, it's what they've done is they've had everybody speak English and speak in their own accent.
Yeah.
But supposedly, this whole thing, that whole first chunk of the movie, is supposed to be in Scandinavia somewhere.
Right. Okay.
Now, it looked like Scotland to me, and everyone was Scottish, so they may have shot it there. But in the context of the movie, everyone's Scandinavian.
Right. I just took it as they, like, you know, because he's a prisoner at the start, and they're using him for like an early trial run of Mortal Kombat.
It seems like, doesn't it?
And which he does very well. His fatalities in particular are very good.
Oh, they're brutal. Oh my god.
The only thing
about this film, like the sudden brutality, was really striking.
Yeah.
I thought as well.
The only problem I have with those scenes was that the CGI blood that they added in post was a little distracting.
It's too red.
It doesn't work for it. It would actually work better completely without it and just, you know, not have any blood at all. But I mean, that's a minor thing. But no, I mean, I looked into it a wee bit, and there was certain things about it again that, you know, that I did enjoy, but a good portion of it I thought was this director, because the more I found out about Nicolas Winding Refn, the more I kind of went, yeah, this seems like it is kind of just pretentious, because he called it a metaphysical sci-fi for a start. Oof. Which just made me kind of go, and like, don't get me wrong, like I like, you know, for anyone who doesn't know me, I enjoy all kinds of movies. Like I enjoyed the Holy Mountain by Alejandro. What's his last name? Jordan. I can't remember his last name.
You're trying to pronounce. You
trying to pronounce it.
You can't pronounce it.
Probably both. Jordinsky,
I think it's Jordinsky.
Yeah. I think that's it. But
or Jodorowsky, maybe Jodorowsky.
That's it. You know, I enjoyed things
I'm
like that.
I'm currently looking it up because I want. It's annoying me now. Jodorowsky, yeah.
Jodorowsky, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I enjoyed his films, and he's very kind of surreal and abstract, and
you
know, not just that one, but so it's not a case of me like not really enjoying these kind of slower paced, more surreal films. It's just for this one, I felt it didn't really have as much to say, or at least again, I could have missed the point. I'm not going to say I'm above that, but it just felt slow for no real apparent reason to me, anyway. You know, and the scene where they take the mushrooms and go mental, that was kind of. Again, it depends how you look at this stuff. Apparently, that was almost thought up on the day. Apparently, in the director's commentary, this is brought up that Nicolas Winding Refn, he came up with this on the day, just decided this on a whim. And you could think, oh, that's a moment of brilliance that he, you know, came up with this. To me, it just seemed like he was just going, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do this. Or, like, you know, so again, it's all how you interpret these things. There's not much, you know, if you're looking a movie to delve into any characters, this is not for you, because even the ones that are there, you know, I mean, I would say Mads Mikkelsen is brilliant in this as this character who does not speak and is just this kind of force of nature, this presence that just sits and stares at everyone, and occasionally, as you said, has these random bursts of violence, and the rest are very, they're almost, they're not fully formed characters. They're just kind of almost caricatures of, like, you know, there's like a priest kind of guy, there's the general dude kind of leading them, the like really uber religious one who then decides, like, he you know,
throws a wobbler at some point and decides he's gonna build a new fucking holy land and all that shit.
You know, he's the one who doubles down when things start going sideways. Everyone else kind of ends up following One Eye. He becomes this like messianic figure
they're not doing what he tells them. They're just sort of following him they're literally following him.
Yeah.
They're like, as long as we stay close to this guy, we might be all right. Seems to be the general feeling among them. Is like, and it seems to be like, well, we'll follow this guy because the only other alternative is to stay here with this looper who wants to build a new friggin' Jerusalem or something.
Yeah.
So let's go with him. Yeah, so it's. I think the movie is held together, I think, by his silent performance.
Yeah,
is great. He's so imposing when he wants to be in, and he's like, even when he's sitting quietly, you're like waiting for him. You're like almost expecting him to do something. Like, everybody seems to be doing it, but everyone who's looking at him everyone's always got their eye on him.
I watched an interview. There was a short interview I found on YouTube with him about his role in this, and he kind of thought it was going to be easy, but he found it really difficult to not emote or not do, you know, like we basic human things like fiddling about while you're sitting there. You know, even when you're sitting very still, if you're sitting in a cell, you're not 100% still. You're going to be like twitching or something, but they really wanted to give this like kind of, I suppose, otherworldly or kind of godlike feel to him, you know, by making him seem kind of almost non-human or something else. And apparently this was very difficult for Mads Mikkelsen. He was saying it was really difficult not to just like sit in a cell and like do nothing. Especially, he's a very good actor. I really like Mads Mikkelsen, and for him to like not emote it was killing him.
Yeah, because like for actors, it's all about like finding, like, put yourself in the character and then do what you think they would do.
Yeah,
and like act, and like a lot of some acting tends to be a certain aspect of it is how would this person sit and what would this person fidget with, things like that. And when it's like, oh, nothing, the answer is nothing. The answer is he will not fidget with anything. He will sit there with his hands on his fucking knees and stare into the distance for what seems like hours. Yeah. Probably. So yeah, I could absolutely see that being hard for someone who's used to like trying to put physicality into your performance, being like, no, there is no physicality right now. There's nothing. Whenever he's up and he's fighting, he's really terrifying though. I mean, it's he's scary motherfucker. I think I did really enjoy this film, aside from the bits that I thought were those cuts that I thought were a bit silly. And again, like I said, I like the look of it. I like the quiet of it, punctuated by the sudden violence.
I will say that I wanted to watch this movie when I heard it was Mads Mikkelsen in this like Viking movie. I was like, I was on board. So I hadn't actually seen any trailer. If you go back, if you watch the trailer for this movie on YouTube or wherever, it is very, very misleading. It does give you that, because I mean, this is a very, very, like, we can't stress enough how slow and laborious. Like I kind of really liked at times the slow pace of it, like on the boat. It worked because it's meant to be like you're almost there with them, feeling this like this is going on forever.
Yeah, that chunk of the film, I think, was like a little movie of its own.
Yeah,
the bit on the boat, it was so like that had a full arc. That had like a 3-act structure to it. Exactly. Of the initial going out and the planning of the journey, and then the mist descends, and then we're into like Act 2 of everybody trying to figure out what's going on and everything falling apart, and then trying to find someone to blame, and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a final act where it all sort of kicks off.
Yeah.
People learn lessons, and then they get out of the fog. And it was like this 20-minute short film that I thought was brilliant. I loved that whole chunk of the film. I thought that probably was my favorite part of the film, actually, now that I think about it.
As I said, like, I liked the first half of this movie. Like, I liked up until then. It was, I think, when they got to the new land, that's when I kind of fell off it a bit more. But that whole boat trip was interesting as well, because the whole Christian thing. These guys were going over. Their mission was to find the Holy Land. So they're all you found that was the first instance where you found that was this excuse that they had. They were really in it to go plundering and to get riches. Because
you promised us treasure.
Yeah, well, that's when they arrive. But on the boat, they start going back to their old ways of these superstitions of like, they start thinking it's the kid that's a curse on the boat and things like that.
It's the boy. It's because we brought the boy along. That's why this is happening.
So that Christian veneer that they had getting on, starting their journey, slowly starts dissolving. And I did enjoy that. And as I said, I enjoyed parts of this movie. It's just, as a whole, it just didn't work for me. It just I don't know what it was about the kind of latter half of it, but
the journey across the Americas, it
just felt a wee bit pandering and kind of just like no one knew really what direction to take now, and maybe that's the whole
thing. I guess their journey fell apart at that point, and they all of a sudden didn't know what to do. And I think I liked it because it was like all of a sudden, like, they had this plan. They were all very motivated up to then, where it's like they have this plan to go and fight in the Holy Lands and take back the Holy Lands and also plunder and get riches while we're there. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, we don't know where we are. Where the hell is this? This isn't the Holy Lands. And everybody tries to find their own thing. Like the guy who's hardcore into the Christianity, he's the way he deals with that is to decide, no, God sent us here. and that means this is his holy land. Then we were looking for the holy land, and we found the holy land. He's just like he's changing facts.
Yeah.
To,
he doubles down.
Position.
Everyone else kind of falls apart. He just like doubles down on it as fanatics tend to do.
Yeah, and everybody else is like fuck this, and blaming each other, and it's chaos. And then they're like, well, the only person who seems to not be freaking out is One Eye.
Yeah.
So
is the psychopath guy that we brought with us
is the actual psychopath, which is a reason he's not freaking out. He's just like, whatever, I'm here, I'm just gonna do what I do. Yeah. And that's what he does. And I liked that. I liked that it all just fell to pieces, that all their plans just got shattered. I don't know if I'm a big fan. Like the very end, it was kind of like, I don't know, but again, that's all part of the Odin thing, you know. It's all part of the Odin metaphor, like, and like it's not subtle. Anyone who says that it's subtle is
that's
wrong.
That's I think what what annoyed me, like when because it was just like kind of tangentially when I was looking things up about the movie. I like kind of looking into kind of the production side of things and like stories of how they were made and all. But then tangentially, I was getting these like people who like were attacking folks for like not enjoying the film, or you know, and that's,
you get that with everything that has like a cult status.
Yeah,
gets the lunatics are like,
if you don't like it means you don't understand it.
Oh, you idiot! But and like a lot of the time, they say things that you're kind of sitting there going, wait, what? I don't think he got it.
Yeah, it's like have you ever seen that there is a documentary about Stanley Kubrick's The Shining entitled Room 237, and if you want to see like 90 minutes of that, watch that documentary. It is a documentary just full of those people who, it starts off and they're making, you know, fairly, you know, believable things about like, well, this shot is composed this way because, and he's put this thing in the background because. And then after about 30 minutes, they start talking about faking the moon landing, and the reason Danny Torrance has a NASA thing on his jumper is because that's Stanley Kubrick's secret message that he did, in fact, fake the moon landing. And they start talking about all these cans in the background in the freezer have like this Native American face on it, and they're all facing this direction because, and your blood will either start to boil or you will have a great time and just start laughing at these maniacs who somehow got together funds to make this film. It is absolute nonsense, and it is exactly the kind of people you're talking about, I think. Yeah, you don't get it, you didn't understand it like I did, and you're like, that's not the thing you just said isn't in the film.
Yeah, because there's moments, say you alluded to it, you know, the premonition scenes that he has are a wee bit are very cheesy, like with that red filter on them. I felt the same way, and also the ending where there's like it like superimposes an image of Mads Mikkelsen over the Bjorn, and
that's
it's
like
just
the
like
last shot in the film, and it made
such...
me want to, that was slightly cringy.
Yeah,
it was almost like in my head I replaced it with like the moon and a wolf howling, and was like, yeah, that's cool, like the kind of thing you get on like that. There was that meme that went around for ages of like the t-shirt with the wolf on it on the internet. This wolf shirt is so fucking cool. It was like that, but with Mads Mikkelsen's face instead.
That's the vibe I got from it. Was just like, oh my god, that's cringe. That's so cringy.
Yeah, it looked really. That bit looked weirdly like cheap TV movie for some reason. Whereas the rest of the film I thought was beautifully composed.
That bit was like a Neil Breen film.
Yeah, it was. That's a really good. That's a really good comparison. Actually,
for anyone who doesn't know, just Google Neil Breen and you will not be disappointed.
It's like that bit in, I can't remember which Neil Breen movie it is, but it's where he's like supposed to be like next to a tiger, but he's definitely not next to a tiger. And like they have his face in, and then the tiger is like in the background looking at him, and then like but the camera that's shooting the blue screen bit moves.
Yeah.
So it looks really weird. Like it looks okay, and then that camera moves, and it just you're just like, oh wait, what the fuck's going on? But his face doesn't move.
No.
And you're like, did he think this looked good? Yeah, it's not quite as bad as that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that, but it reminded me of some other random things from Neil Breen movies, and maybe even Birdemic a little bit.
Which I mean, as we say, like, the one thing that we can definitely agree with is that the cinematography in this movie is
flawless,
brilliant,
almost flawless,
yeah.
except for that.
Except for it, like, it stands out even more because it's just like, what the fuck? Did the intern like do this bit, or what's going on here? Yeah,
it's not quite the same extreme, but it's sort of similar to how I felt about Prometheus.
Yeah.
In that a lot of people don't like Prometheus, and I don't think Prometheus is necessarily a very good film.
Yeah.
But it is a gorgeous film. It is a beautiful film to look at. Yeah. It is a film that, and Alien Covenant as well. Like, I mean, Ridley Scott knows what he's doing, and he works with people who know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like Alien Covenant was ultimately as a narrative was crap.
Yeah.
But it might be one of the best looking films I have ever seen. It's just like the exterior shots in that movie are beautiful.
Yeah.
And this reminded me a lot of that, with like the big sort of greenish landscapes, especially like in the beginning, the first act portion.
Yeah.
Where it reminded me a lot of Prometheus visually. Now, I think it's a better film than Prometheus by a huge margin. I do enjoy watching Prometheus, but I enjoy watching Prometheus. I understand that I am sort of an Alien fanboy, and that there are more bad Alien movies than there are good ones, because there's like 2 good ones, and there's so many of them now. And I kind of like the extended version of 3, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, this film was gorgeous, and I did thoroughly enjoy the narrative as well. The only thing that bothered me, as I say, was some of those little cuts of the premonitions were a bit silly, and that final shot with his face in the sky was just daft, I think. So yeah, I think this is a great movie. I don't know how much we learned about Vikings from it.
Probably not much.
Brutality seems to be the order of the day. Brutality and falling back on superstition, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's everybody. I think that's maybe just the human race, is it?
And I mean, that's kind of the point of, well, again, I could have misinterpreted it, but that's kind of the point as well of that ending, is that, you know, because he sacrifices himself and the boy is the only one who really lives out of the whole thing.
Aye.
And him being this like almost representing that side of people, that kind of
so I wanted to check with you who you thought, because everybody sort of seemed to be sort of an archetype from the Norse pantheon in a way whenever they were like going, but I feel like the boy seemed to me to be, would you say he was like, he seemed like he was like Mimir, maybe? Or is it Balder?
Mimir, I would have said.
Because he was speaking for him was the thing, and that seemed to me
I suppose that would make sense, yeah.
You know?
To be honest, I didn't even really kind of think too deeply about the other characters, kind of as counterparts for the Norse pantheon, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose that would make sense.
I maybe just went a little too deep. I wasn't going on forums and screaming at people about it, but I was.
You're doing it wrong then.
That's
the only way to make your opinion valid.
It's true. It's the only way to validate things, or by recording it here and shouting it at you. But yeah, I enjoyed that, because I was like, oh, maybe this is this, and this means this, and ooh, you know, is that supposed to represent the worm that eats the world? Is that Jormungandr? You know, ooh, who's this guy supposed to be? And who are these people, the Aesir, and are these people the Vanir, and, you know, the people from the new land, and da 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 da. And then I stopped doing that, because I was like, it was pretty.
Well, see,
it was pretty, and it sounded nice. That's what I liked about this film.
I think I might have taken the right approach here, because I did find out, and this is, he's on record as saying this, Nicolas Winding Refn had no interest in Norse mythology or Vikings at all, and you know, so it wasn't really meant to be. There was I think because I think there was 2 writers involved, and one of them was trying to like keep the Viking lore and history right in it, but it wasn't really focused on that. So I'm kind of glad I didn't kind of overindulge and like kind of think, is the boy Balder or is he Mimir?
Yeah,
because he could be.
So I'm guessing it's probably not as deep as that. Probably isn't as deep in that as people think it is. Then it maybe at one point the script was. And then it was edited down and changed a bit to maybe lessen that impact.
I also found out that Refn wanted to end it with One Eye getting onto a spaceship and leaving.
Oh, man! Oh, I would have loved that.
Metaphysical sci-fi, motherfucker!
That would have been a real metaphysical sci-fi then, wouldn't it? Holy shit.
He decided not to because it would be too easy for the audience to interpret, apparently.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I might have actually liked it more if that was the ending, but sure, whatever.
Maybe I would have as well.
Yeah, who knows? It's grand.
I do actually think if it had lent more into the Norse mythology, because I'm a sucker for. We've said this before. We're both kind of suckers for mythology and folklore and stuff like that. I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah,
maybe. You know, but again, it's neither like because again that boat trip was because they all think that they start talking about how One Eye might be leading them to hell, and like it all makes sense with is it what one of the worlds is it? Is it Helheim or
which one?
There's one of them that's quite foggy.
Yeah, Muspelheim, I think.
Muspelheim, yeah.
Muspelheim is the fog one.
You know, things like that just kind of clicked in, and it was like, oh, this is working. Yeah, this is working out well.
The fog world.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's one of those ones. It's hard to. Some people, you're either going to love or hate it, I think.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mostly, it was just like again, I know I've said this like 3 times already, but I really liked how quiet and still it was in between the sort of short punctuations of like violence and brutality, and the brutality is brutal. Like, I mean, you want to talk about like the practical effects in this movie are whenever they are used are excellent and slightly disturbing at times. I mean, there is a part where he literally splits a guy open and then puts his hands in and just sort of casually just takes out his innards and drops them on the ground, and you don't necessarily see a lot of it. You see, well, you don't see it for very long. You see it very briefly, but you do see it happen.
Yeah. And
it looks very real, and then there's also a guy getting his head stoved in, and that's a little too real.
That looks really good. Which again is why that CG
too much.
Which is why that CG blood really stands out. And is awkward. You're like, the rest of it looks so good.
It's like if someone stabs someone dramatically and the blood flies out, and you're like, oh, it's like shockingly red and almost cartoonish.
Yeah.
It's almost cartoonish. Those are my only real problems with the movie then is that just small things with, I guess, the times when they relied on computerized effects, I guess, is my problem with this movie. When they put in the stupid face at the end and when the blood comes out of people, it looks silly. But apart from that, like I thought it was gorgeous. I thought the dialogue was grand, like all the acting, everyone's stellar in this movie. Everybody's great. The performances from the actors are brilliant. Everybody's great, especially Mads Mikkelsen keeping it together as a stoic, unfeeling psychopath.
I had a few issues with the dialogue, and not the performances actually, but the dialogue to me was a bit. It didn't make much sense in certain parts of it, and I'm trying to kind of recall the instances where it just didn't really. It didn't seem real, and maybe that was kind of intentional. You know, it didn't seem like something someone would say in that moment. But again, it's probably just more of a personal thing on my part. You know, and again, I think this was during that second half of the movie that I kind of did fall off on. Like there was parts of it where I was like going, what's going on, or not even what's going on. It's like, why the fuck are they talking to each other like that?
I felt like that
crazy events happened.
That worked, I think, with the sort of, there's a sort of fever dream sort of quality to it at that point in the film, where things are sort of happening and they're almost overlapping. Events are overlapping and stuff, the way the cuts are going, and it's very odd, and I liked that. I thought that all worked together quite well, to give you sort of a weird feeling of discomfort with what was happening, because it does feel very unnatural. That's what I liked about it. I think it felt like it was very intentional to me, where that whole bit's kind of like, especially after they have that bit with the mushrooms and stuff, which is like, which started me thinking while I was watching the movie, was like, wait a minute, maybe they've been high the whole time, because the whole movie has a sort of slightly fever dream quality to it, where unlike Pathfinder, where the cuts were confusing.
It's very strange. I know that's like the whole premise of this podcast, but just when you said it out loud, they're like, we're comparing Pathfinder with this movie.
Valhalla Rising. Weird. Yeah, it's so like Pathfinder's cuts and edits seemed to be poorly made, and confusing, and maybe there was a lack of continuity there. Whereas I feel in this, it was very intentional and created a tone.
Yeah.
The way it was confusingly going from one scenario to the other. Like, oh, here they are and they're walking, and here they're sitting, and like, how far have they gone, and where are they now relative to where they were before? It made that seem like it didn't matter, whereas in Pathfinder, it seemed like it didn't matter to the filmmakers, but it still mattered to me in Pathfinder, how far they had gone and how much time had passed. Whereas I feel like in Valhalla Rising, they did a good job of being like, yeah, this whole thing is just odd and confusing and dreamlike. And that's I think, what I took away from it. Anyway, what I like most about it. Land has definitely been sighted. We're coming up on it quite quickly. I think we can make out some trees and a nice little beach over there. Looks like a holiday resort. We're coming up on with this rabble of vagabonds and marauders.
Nice.
I'm not really sure what their intentions are, but I don't know if we want to be associated with them once we make landfall. So we may need to figure out a way to get away from them, or something, or help the authorities in capturing them once we get there. Thank God these guys don't speak English, eh?
Yep.
So let's see what did we learn from our third movie, Outlander. John, what did you think about Outlander?
Outlander's so dumb.
Oh my God, isn't it so dumb?
But it's so fun.
I know. I have similar feelings about it as I do with the Mortal Kombat movie, I think. Where I know it's daft and silly and nonsense.
Yeah.
But the premise is so... I love the basic premise so much that... And they treat it with the exact amount of seriousness that it deserves, which is only a little bit.
Only a smidge.
Only a smidge of seriousness.
Enough to give the characters motivation, because if it goes into that like slapstick kind of category, then you lose all kind of tension.
Yeah, you got to have something to hold on to, and I think they do. I think they leave you with something to hold on to for the majority of this film. So it sounds like you liked it then.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you have to look at the intent of a movie as well. And this one just, I mean, I can't imagine anyone wanted this to be anything more than just a fun, silly romp. It's like a sci-fi version of
Beowulf. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking while I was watching it. I was like, this thing's basically the Grendel.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the whole like latter part where actually, sorry, I was about to say where the beast goes and gets its ma, but that kind of does happen in this.
Yeah.
There is a kind of a mother and son, essentially.
There's a second mini beast.
Yeah. But the big one's the one that kind of is attacking to begin with.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of it's just really just silly.
It's a film that's enjoying itself immensely, and because of that, I am also enjoying it immensely, I think.
And there's it does have its problems, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But like the cast is quite good in it as well. I mean, they've got.
Speaking of the cast, actually, before we go on, now Jim Caviezel plays the main, the Outlander, the titular Outlander.
That's right.
The space man. The man who fell from space in the year 708 or something in what I assume is Norway, isn't it? Yeah, it's Norway.
Yes,
it does that great thing that I like from movies that aren't mucking around and don't have time to be bothered with exposition, where they just have text slap up on the screen saying this is Norway, this is the year, They put it in the movie in this in a way, and that it's his little computer device telling him all these things.
Is crazy sci-fi nonsense thing that he puts his, and then it goes that extra wee bit to explain why he can speak the language and all this. They're all speaking English in this for the purposes of the audience, the audience probably mainly being Westerners, just not having to read subtitles.
Indeed, yeah. So as far as casting goes, apparently Karl Urban was initially tipped to play the Outlander, but Pathfinder came along first and he did that instead.
Raging for him.
I feel like both of these movies would have benefited from a swap.
Yeah.
In the actors. I feel like maybe Jim Caviezel would have handled the Pathfinder role better. And Karl Urban maybe would have been better suited for this. But as it is, Jim Caviezel does a great job doing what he's doing.
Yep.
I guess he's perfectly functional in his position as a man what fell from space and accidentally brought a monster with him.
Yeah,
because it's all his fault.
Yeah, and I kind of like it in the kind of latter part of the movie that it doesn't try to make him like this big kind of hero who's awesome and benevolent. He was part of he's an alien race essentially, and he destroyed a complete species just so they could have land. So yeah, he's kind of paying the price for that in a way.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they make they kind of make the antagonist way more sympathetic than
they need to.
Yeah, than they need to. Where to the point where I was almost rooting for the monster at one point, because I was like, the person here with the character here with the most motivation is the Marwyn.
Yeah,
in a way, as the best justification for what it's doing. It's like a revenge movie, but it's been told from the person who's getting revenged on.
Yeah,
like their perspective rather, because it's the last of its kind, because they literally burned the rest of them up.
Yeah.
And then they try to give him a motivation of vengeance for it by being like, oh, it killed my family, but
which is a bit weak whenever you consider you killed my species.
You annihilated the race.
Yeah. You committed genocide.
Yeah, and also like this movie, the cast in this movie is a fun cast. You've got Jim Caviezel, of course, of playing Jesus fame from Mel Gibson's The Passion, doing in a very different role, but sort of similar in that he's an outsider who's come to help them fight a thing.
Yeah,
like Pathfinder does. Except, at least in this one, they acknowledge that, he brought it, it's his fault, and he is not this invincible warrior. He does know more. It makes more sense that he knows stuff about it, and that he knows how to fight it way more than it did in Pathfinder, when he knew how to fight the Vikings, because he was 7 when he was last with Vikings. And also he has all this stuff that he can use. They have the whole thing where, they go and get the metal from his ship that's crashed and all that stuff.
Yeah, he manages to quite conveniently lose his gun.
He does
in a hilarious scene.
I didn't even notice the gun being lost. I was confused. I was sitting scratching my head, going, "Wait, where did it go?"
It falls into a stream.
And that's it. He
doesn't really go looking for it, and I kind of find it funny that he somehow manages to get sneaked upon by a man on a horse. Yeah. Because horses are not quiet.
Horses are very loud, thundering things, especially when moving at speed.
They're not that great at stealth, but
no.
Especially, he's trying to be really like observant, and someone just comes up behind him, smack.
He has, as they say, he has his head on a swivel.
Yes.
In that scene, because he is looking around him, because he's expecting to get jumped by this thing at any moment, and somehow this dude on a horse sneaks up on him. But this movie's full of silly things like that. Don't really ruin it, because it's so daft and weirdly slightly self-aware about how stupid the things that are happening are.
Because I found like Pathfinder was, as you said when we were talking about that, it kind of tries to take this very self-serious tone, and not almost completely to the detriment of that movie. If it was maybe a bit more light-hearted, you could accept these faults. And yeah, for something like Outlander, you kind of just roll with it. Him being snuck up on a horse, I just laughed. I wasn't sitting there, I'm completely, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, a guy just rolls up on him. Oh no! Whack. The end.
It's like,
next scene.
You know he needs to be at a disadvantage now to know.
Yeah.
He needs to lose that weapon, or else the movie would be about 10 minutes long.
Yeah, because he just find it, shoot it, and go home.
Yeah, and think nothing more of it. But
indeed.
Yeah, so as well as him and Ron Perlman.
Brilliant. Doing a Belfast accent as well.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like he sounds like us in this movie. He's like, I'll cut your heart out. He's like, come out here, I'll cut your heart out. What does he say? He says,
I'll cut your heart from your rotting chest.
And I was like, I remember thinking, he sounds Irish, and I was like, no, he sounds like he's from here. Like he sounds like someone from down the road from me. Yeah. I really appreciated that. He's a good imposing figure. He gets disposed of sort of very casually. I think
he gets disposed of a bit too quick for my liking. But I mean, Ron Perlman, like I love Ron Perlman, so anytime he gets disposed of in a movie is too quick for me. It's
raging. You're just like, he should be the protagonist. God damn it!
But the protagonist in this movie is an 8-year-old girl. Yeah, it should be Ron Perlman.
Kill her. Kill her and let Ron Perlman survive. Yep. Yeah, so he's great in all his scenes. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He is constantly angry and screaming and just swinging those big hammers around the place. And,
I particularly like the bit where he crushes the man's head with the hammers.
Which they totally put. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this that I was like, that's totally in that new Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I rocked the double hammer nonsense in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and yeah, I haven't seen Outlander probably since it came out or around about that time, and when we rewatched it there, I was going, yep, this is definitely this is exactly what I felt like playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Because like that exact thing he does, you do that in that game. Like you can kick someone in the knees, have them fall down, and then smash them on both sides of the head with 2 hammers and just knacker them. So that was fun to watch. John Hurt is of course always John Hurt's a very reliable guy.
The storyteller himself.
Indeed, he really looks in this like the storyteller as well. He's got the long hair and the beard, and you can imagine him sitting by the fire. Telling
with his puppet dog.
So our main sort of his daughter. Now she's someone we have encountered before in this show. She was in
the very first episode we did.
Yeah, she was a function of the plot in Underworld. She literally existed to be jealous and set Kate Beckinsale free from a room she was locked in for no good reason in the Underworld movies, and then get shouted at and then get forgotten about.
Yep.
That was her whole role in that movie.
She has a bigger role in this.
She's a much bigger role in this, to the point where it seems like she's going to be maybe more of a central figure than she actually is. I think.
It ends up being a bit disappointing. She falls into that damsel role.
Yeah,
even though it really does make a point of showing how capable and how fierce she is at the beginning, and showing that she can fight, and that
people still tell stories like there's literally a guy that hangs out with them is like, see that scar there? He points at a scar like, she did that to me.
Yeah,
she like stabbed him with a fork and fucked him up real bad.
And her name's Freya, which it's
very on the nose.
Yeah, very on the nose. And also in this culture, like the women were, that they fought as well. It's not like this is looked down upon of like, oh no, only the men fight and stuff. Like it wasn't like that. Yeah. So it's a wee bit strange that they almost kind of lean into her not kind of getting really
setting her up as being a really good fighter.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's going to matter later, and it sort of does, and then it sort of doesn't.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, she does a thing right at the end, but she does it like a thing that anybody could have done.
Yeah.
It's distracted, stab, that's it. So, and yeah, she becomes that damsel in distress, and she is always like put away with the other women when anything's happening.
Yeah.
As well, which is daft. Yeah, that stuff kind of sucks, because you're like, why did they bother establishing her this way and then do nothing with it?
Yeah.
So that sucks.
I did laugh when she's sent to clean the Outlander's wounds, and she basically just goes in with water. There's no like, there's no way. Like it really is just cleaning the wounds. There's no additional medical.
It's 702. It's 702 AD or whatever the frig it is, or 802. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think they're not going in there with their disinfectant in there. But yeah, I take your point. It's like the way they get her to do it is like, oh, if he dies, it's on you. And it's like, I feel like what she does isn't going to save him either way. You're right.
Load of water. Yeah. It's like the GAA players,
the magic sponge.
The magic water that they use. Like a guy's nose is like almost spread across his whole face after he got hit with a hurler or whatever. And they spray him with water, and he's like, no, I'm good to go.
It's like, you're right there, big lad. You're grand. Stop whinging. Get up and get back in the game and stop bleeding on people. Yeah, it's like that. So that's nonsense. But again, it's all part of the fun in a way. You're like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
I really like the monster.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they do make it seem really smart, and like it seems to understand things. Like he shouts at it a few times, and it seems to recognize. He keeps, every time he shouts Marwyn at it, it seems to recognize the word. I like that it seems like it's really intelligent, but also looks like this huge beast, and it looks like a dragon. They call it, they refer to it as a dragon. And it does look like a dragon. Yeah,
because they I mean, they're using a frame of reference that they would have, even if it is only from folk stories. And also at the start, that there's a lot of like the CG on the dragon or the Morwen maybe isn't great, but there's actually a few scenes like later on. Again, whenever they're making smart decisions where it's in the middle of the night, when it appears at nighttime, it looks better, and that's just like it's almost just known these days that CG works better if you have elements like this where darkness will help. You won't need to make it work as much to make it look like it belongs in the scene. But
you can like artificially place your light sources where you want.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're trying to have something look like the same light sources hitting it, then that is in the scene with other things.
Then you get Scorpion
King. You've really filmed. Yeah, then you get something like the Scorpion King. Yeah.
But there was one scene in particular where our main character Kanan throws a torch along a path, and it lights up the beast.
That stuck out to me as well, as being like, wow, that actually does look really cool.
It looks so menacing, and it just looks cool, and it also helps that it's not moving. It's just you're able to take it in, and it's just a really cool design. I think it was almost added so you could appreciate this design of this monster, because it's really menacing looking, and it's fucking huge as well.
Yeah, it's a really intimidating thing.
I mean,
it looks great.
I didn't look up what kind of budget this movie has or had, but I can't imagine it would have been too high. But I think they do well enough with it, especially the Morwen is the main antagonist and it features quite heavily in it. So they had to have it in a lot of scenes. There's no way around that. They do a few wee tricks of like using the red light that it has to signify it's there, and
it's there and it's about to murder someone. Usually somebody turns around and they go, huh? And then you see that red glow and then they go, oh, and then that's the end of them.
Or like whenever that guy's the Outlander like escapes the first time the Morwen comes to that village, the Outlander escapes and really brutally like punches Fred.
Oh man, he lamps her right in the face. Like he knocks her the fuck out.
Yeah, he's not taking any chances here.
No.
And then the guard goes after him, and there's like it's like washing lines or something. There's linen hanging up here, and you can see the light kind of. They're trying to track it along the linen, so they use that. They're using these like tricks so that they can basically avoid using the CG.
Cleverly. Again, that's a director and a cinematographer applying their craft sensibly and intelligently and saying this will work way better than just having a big monster go rawr. Because there's points where you do see it and you're a wee bit like, oh, I don't know. But then other times when you see it and you're like, it looks great because like you were saying, the way they intelligently shoot it, and like especially when it's in the dark, or if it's in the dark and it suddenly starts glowing, the contrast works really, really well. I think that stuff looks really good when it's raging in the dark, murdering people.
I mean, already, this even within the confines of what we've watched in this podcast, around this time you were seeing a lot of dodgy CGI. It's done fairly well for this movie that I can't imagine. I would be very shocked if it did have a massive budget. But and the characters for the most part kind of makes sense for that. They all have a role to play. There's like the what do you call him, Wulfric?
Wulfric, who's the man who would be king.
Yes, and he doesn't like the Outlander, and there's a bit of it's not massive, but there's a bit of character development with him. You think he's just going to be the antagonistic asshole who's always against him. They
paint him that way intentionally initially by saying, "Oh, he's just like his father, a butcher."
Yeah.
But then you're like, "Oh, he's kind of not though."
Yeah.
He does wade into a fight quite willingly, which kind of is like, admirable in a way. Like there's the part where they're fighting. There's the part where they're fighting the bear.
Yes,
and it's him running in going like to get it, you're like, okay, maybe this guy isn't such a prick.
He's very competitive, and then like to the point that when they kill that bear and they're celebrating, they have that game of shields, which
looks like a fuck ton of fun. I have to say, I was watching that thing, and this seems like great crack and the exact kind of dumb thing that you shouldn't do when you're drunk, but would be really fun.
And all shields is there's a ring of these Vikings, and they all hold their shields up over their heads.
It's like two people to a shield, I think, underneath in a big oblong sort of loop.
Yeah,
and they're just trying to do shit and be like, look what I can do.
Yeah,
can you?
I'm really good at balancing.
Look how good I am at balancing while hammered, or sometimes while actually actively drinking and running around on these shields. And I'm gonna do a forward flip, and now you do a forward flip, and you have to make it this many shields, and it's really daft, but it fits the tone of the movie really well, and that's a really good scene. Yeah, that's a really good scene for being like, okay, right, they're all getting along now. And everybody's friends now, and maybe this Wulfric guy isn't such an annoying fucker as we thought he was.
Yeah, that's when he starts kind of becoming likable, because because the Outlander does really well. Wulfric still wins, and then but he's kind of gracious about it. He's not a complete arsehole about it.
Yeah, the Outlander falls in his arse, but then everybody starts laughing like, haha, wasn't that great fun?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, that's great. And then everything suddenly descends into chaos because, oh no, it's an action movie.
Yep.
Like right as soon as that scene is over.
But it also, it's one of those ones, like, initially when because I completely forgot the everything that happened in this movie, until I watched it again there, and I was watching this going, this just seems completely random and out of place, and then it actually isn't. It feeds it. They actually use this later as part of their way to trick the Morwen.
Yeah, it's where he gets the idea to be like, right, we're gonna dig this pit, fill it with whale oil.
Yeah,
which sounds like it probably fucking stinks. The amount of it they put in this hole. Fill it right up to the level where these posts stop, and then put shields on them so you can't quite see them.
Yeah.
So they can like dance across the surface and lure it in, and like it's like that's a fun, clever, silly, elaborate plan to have in a dumb action movie about a big monster. It's kind of like the scene in Predator again when they set up all like the traps and the ropes and stuff to catch it. And then use it, and then again, it is really similar, and then use themselves as bait to get it to come in.
And plus, it has to be them too, because they have been established as the two best ones, the only two really in the village that can kind of pull this off.
Yeah, there's a guy that has the knowledge, and the guy that's like the guy they all respect, who is a good fighter and all that shit. So it makes sense that it's the two of them doing it, and. You know, of course, it doesn't quite work out exactly how they want it to. Of course not. but it's fun when it doesn't work out. You know, it's like, okay, now it's running around the place killing things and it's on fire, which seems to make it even more dangerous than it was before. But fuck it, it's good crack. Yeah, this film was that. I think that sums up this movie. Actually, fuck it, it was good crack. You know, it's like, this is fun that this is happening now, and it's silly, and like you want to talk about like Viking sci-fi stuff. Like, this is it. You know, it's like the sci-fi elements basically extend to once, like, he has all these flashbacks about like my wife and my family was killed, and I think those are the worst points in the film, when he's having his flashbacks to his family being killed. Like, they feel really out of place. Yeah, the way they're shot and everything seems really like off or something. Yeah, like maybe that was done afterwards. I don't know if it was, but it feels like something that was put in at the end. Yeah, to like make you care more or like justify his position more. Outside of him just saying, "Oh, my family got killed," like, "Oh, let's see it then, will we?" But I think it works well. I think it's well made. I think like all the action scenes in it actually are quite well shot. And again, once again, compared to Pathfinder, are masterful. If we're gonna do that, it's got good characters. It looks good. When they use the CG diligently, it looks really nice. Yeah. It's a cool bad guy. Everyone has understandable motivations, which is really important. Yeah. Unlike Pathfinder. I'm just using this to rag on Pathfinder. Yeah. Like,
because it's still very much a movie of that ilk, of this a dumb action movie. So there are parts of it that you're going. There's a part where they swing Freya once they go to save her, once she's in the damsel room. Oh, yes. They like swing her like onto the side of the cliff and for no reason.
Just leave her there.
She's left there. It's just like, okay, what do I do now? Until she decides, fuck this, I'm coming back.
Eventually, she's like, I'm gonna climb back up. And you're like, why were you? It was just to get her out of the way for a bit while they did silly fights. I think. And then for her to step in and save the day at the last second by, conveniently being behind it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely. And there are times it has that same problem that Pathfinder has, where the time of day shifts kind of erratically, like in a scene that, or it maybe is suddenly nighttime and you're, after someone was doing something that would only take an hour or so, and they were doing it in the middle of the day, it's suddenly nighttime once they're finished it. But Yeah, it suffers from those things, but it manages to be fun. Again, I just go to the intent of the movie, and I can't see it being anything more than just, we just want to have a bit of crack.
Yeah, the entire premise just sets it up to just be, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
You know, it does a good job of being like, you can sort of switch your brain off here and thoroughly enjoy everything that's going on, because it's daft. It's got silly sci-fi elements. It's got mythic elements. It's got that, like, again, it's like an old Viking story of a mythical beast in the forest that they have to go out and fight, you know, and it's very Beowulf at times.
Yeah, the sword, like Beowulf gets the giant sword. In this, they make the sword out of his ship.
Yeah, it
and
looks
stuff
really
to do.
daft.
It's so crap
daft.
looking.
It doesn't make any sense that it looks like that as well, because it should just look like any other Viking sword, because it's just metal. But for some reason, it has all these weird, like, grooves and circles in it to make it look slightly sci-fi.
I think they do mention that they. Is it Gunnar makes the sword? He's like the comic relief character.
He's the guy, the bald guy. Yeah, him.
Yeah, I think they have like a throwaway line where he tried to incorporate some of the original design.
Whatever.
Do you know? Yeah, exactly. It's a complete eye rolly. Yeah, whatever. There was no
whatever.
point.
The prop department had great fun making a silly sci-fi Viking sword, so now here it is. So we'll chuck in a throwaway line to explain why it looks like this, and away off to the races we go.
I will say that Jean-Luc Picard from the Starship Enterprise would be raging with Kanan. Because he does not uphold the Prime Directive.
You're right.
He's terrible at that.
Yeah, he is. The thing is, though,
so Jean-Luc at a lot of times. So.
To be honest, I think maybe he'd be all right, because he's there by accident. He crashed there. He brought the thing that is wrecking them.
Yep.
It's not something that naturally occurred on the planet. So if we want to get friggin' all Star Trek-y here, which I am prepared to do.
We should save that for our other podcast. What would Jean-Luc do?
Oh my God,
in which we discuss sci-fi movies and decide what Jean-Luc would think about
how
the characters'
from Star Trek actually deal with this problem way more effectively and quickly, and the movie would only be the length of an episode of Star Trek. Yeah, that's a really good idea for a podcast. Okay, we have veered wildly off topic here. So I'm just going to say that Outlander is fun and stupid in all the right ways.
Yeah.
And doesn't take itself too seriously. It takes itself just about seriously enough.
Yeah.
And I think it is a very, very fun film. Okay, well, we've made landfall on this beach here. There's a lot of very confused sunbathers giving us the eye. These Vikings are sort of milling around. They don't seem to know what they're doing very much. I think we need to get I think we probably need to get away from them before they start doing things and we end up getting arrested. So, but before we do that, John, which of these films did you think was the best film? Which of them did you enjoy most?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm a fairly open book when it comes to this subject. Yet again, Outlander was the one I had the most fun with. I would say though, if I almost think that if Valhalla Rising was like a short movie and ended kind of around the boat scene, that would have took it for me hands down. But yeah, Outlander was definitely the one I had the most fun with.
Yeah, I think as far as fun goes,
well, yeah,
Outlander
it's a different
does take it easily. Like, I don't know, because I did really, really like. I had a great experience watching Valhalla Rising.
Yeah,
and that it was nicely intense, and I did find myself sort of getting a little lost in it. You know, almost like hypnotized maybe by like the combination of, it was great sound design. You know, it was very, very quiet.
The atmosphere like it does a really good job of the atmosphere in it. You know, again, going to that boat, the claustrophobic feel to it as well, you know, with the fog surrounding, and it definitely had the best atmosphere out of all of them for invoking that kind of like Viking-esque lore, I suppose.
Almost like the sort of the mythic quality of it.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah, so I really like that because I felt like that movie got me into a zone almost where I was just enjoying being there, you know, and just I don't know, there was something about it. It was like a sensory experience, maybe you might say.
But did it have a big dragon on fire?
It did not have a big flaming dragon from space in it. No, I mean there's something to be said for that if you want to argue your case for Outlander.
I mean, we can have this is the category that doesn't really matter as much.
It doesn't really matter as much to our urgent situation, and we can disagree on it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to disagree on you with it, though. That's the thing. I'm a little torn between the two.
Yeah,
because one of them is incredibly, you know, I guess if you want to talk about from an artistic standpoint, that, you know, Valhalla Rising is something, it feels thoughtful, and it's on a technical level it's kind of incredible with like the framing. There's something I just find really ingratiating about a really well framed landscape. Just from my nonsense earlier talking about Prometheus and Alien Isolation, even though they're not very good films necessarily, but they do look great and I like to look at them. Mm-hmm. This film, I like to look at this film. I thought it was lovely. I mean,
most of the scenes you could just take a still off and make a poster out of it. Almost, it does look incredible.
Yeah, it's that old sort of the phrase that gets thrown around cinematographers, like every frame a painting. You know, that you could like.
Well, sorry, apart from the last scene.
Apart from the very, very last shot with big Mads Mikkelsen head in the sky.
Yeah.
That was... Oh, that might just knock it off the spot for me, actually. No, you know what? Yeah, I'm going with Outlander as well.
It depends. Do you want a metaphysical sci-fi or do you want a straight-up dumb sci-fi?
Straight up sci-fi is fine with me. Sci-fi mythology nonsense.
A physical sci-fi, I suppose?
Yeah, indeed, yes. A physical. There's no... Although they do mention stuff about gods here and there. And
and I mean, there's the whole Beowulf...
she sees... There's that bit at the very end. Like, there's a part at the very end of Outlander where, like, the spaceship is coming to get him. And then she has her, like, daft voiceover where she talks about him and about how the gods came to get him. And he was like, nah, mate. That's not what she says, but that's what I heard in my head.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm with you, and I think Outlander goes in the vault in my heart as well, just because of that big dumb Mads Mikkelsen face. It's a really stupid reason, but it's all I got.
It actually would have been better if they just kind of... Because, it's superimposed over the cairn that he makes, isn't it?
Yeah, the wee cairn that he's building.
It would have just been better without that, and you could have inferred what they're trying to almost beat you over the head with just that shot on its own, and it's a good frame shot. Yeah. It's like without that superimposed face over the top of it, the semi-transparent Mads Mikkelsen face, it probably would have worked a bit better. But then what I know.
Yeah. We're not cinematographers. We're just jerks to talk about movies.
Yeah.
But I know how I felt, though. I know how that made me feel, and I feel like it was just a weird thing to throw in at the end there. So, yeah. Outlander was fun and silly and just nonsense. Pathfinder, we didn't even bother mentioning Pathfinder because I think it's very clear that Pathfinder is just torturous at times and aggravating at other times. I think it was a film that I got genuinely annoyed at.
Yeah.
Because of the way it treats the native people in it, I think is terrible. I would say. Mm-hmm. I think it's a disgrace how it treats those people. I think it treats its audience quite badly as well. I wish it was better. You know, it's got Clancy Bryan. I love Clancy Bryan. I think he's great.
Apparently, there was was it a Norwegian film or something? I tried to find it, but I couldn't. this is all coming from vague
This is a sort of a remake of.
Yeah,
it's that. Yeah, it's also called Pathfinder, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the director of that actually said that they completely this is what made me interested, but I couldn't find it in time. I might still go looking for it, because I think it's very different from what that guy, the director of the original one, said, because he said they Hollywooded it up and they've ruined it. They've kind of, done what they do to all remakes and ruined it. And
this guy is a remake guy as well, the director who made this film.
Yeah.
He's made 2 genuinely god-awful remakes. He did the Friday the 13th remake, which was just terrible and completely misses the point of the Friday the 13th, the first Friday the 13th movie and the series in general, because those films are all about just, like, the first one's just exploitative nonsense, and then every sequel to Friday the 13th is like, let's escalate, let's get really creative. It was almost like it's the Friday the 13th series was like an excuse for practical effects people to flex and be like, what's the most ridiculous way we can have someone killed in this movie?
Yeah.
And they, like, if you watch them, you can see it escalating as they go along, and it's brilliant. Then you watch this and you're like, this is dull. You just like hack at with machete, don't see anything, person dead, move on to next. That movie. It was god awful. He also did Conan the Barbarian, which had what's his face Aquaman in it.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Yes. Now I watched that movie with a friend of mine one evening, and the next day we were talking, and we couldn't remember anything about it. It was so bland and forgettable. We were like, what happened? How did that movie end? And what was the story? And we just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
We were a little bit drunk, but we were not hammered. And we were just like, we couldn't for the life of us remember anything about it. So that's kind of this guy's thing.
I guarantee that, I mean, give it a week and ask me to outline what the story of Pathfinder is, and I will not be able to tell you.
I'll be able to tell you that there was Vikings in it, and I hated it. Apart from that, I don't think I would want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think we're definitely both going with Outlander, I think, for the best movie. So which of these movies helps us, do you think, best understand Vikings?
Oh. That's, and to get out of our predicament, I think we're screwed.
Yeah, we're a bit stuck,
I mean,
aren't we?
It all requires a level of violence that, not to say that we haven't been in fights or anything like that before, but I think I would feel against a Viking, especially horde,
marauding berserkers.
Yeah. I don't think I'm intimidating. I'm definitely not as intimidating as Mad Mikkelsen's character. I'm not as.
Get you on a good day, like, you know.
Oh, thank you. I don't. I'm not as capable as. Certainly, they want you to believe the Pathfinder. I can't even remember his name.
Carl Urban was his
Carl
name.
Oh, yes.
That's what we're referring to him as. He's Carl Urban.
I'm not as good at knowing how Vikings fight as Carl Urban.
Yeah, he just already had that knowledge seemingly by default.
Yeah,
I think. Now, Big Jim Caviezel, or Kanan as he is in Outlander, he makes friends with them.
Yeah, I suppose. That's
he ingratiates himself. Now he does do it by helping them murder a bear. So I don't know if that's in our wheelhouse necessarily, but maybe we could try it with something smaller, like a tree
or a weasel.
Or a weasel. I don't want to kill a weasel.
Well, we just have to save the chief from a weasel.
Their leader from. Hold on. Oh, he's choking on an olive. He's gone to the bar. We can use the bar and he's choking on an olive. Quick! We
can use our future knowledge.
Yes, we can use the knowledge of the Heimlich to ingratiate ourselves and save the chief. All right, off we go. Here we are. Ha! Yay! Right, so now we're friends with the Vikings. They love us, and as you can hear, they're giving us a lovely round of applause. So, yeah, there we are. It turns out, again, much like it was before, I can't remember who it was we made friends with before. We made friends with another threat before. Yeah. I can't quite recall who it was.
You lose track after a while.
It was I think it was the fur folk. I think we made friends with the furry folk of Ireland at some point. So, same goes, I think. So I think we did very well there. Yeah, well done, John.
Sometimes the non-violent approach is the answer.
Yeah, our two-man Heimlich saved the day, and now they're our buddies. And they'll buy us pina coladas at the bar for the rest of the day. Hooray!
With the treasure they have plundered, no doubt.
With the treasure they have plundered from, I don't know, wherever. Hopefully not these nice beach people here. That sounds like a racist term, but I don't know what for. The beach people. Yeah. But it's still less racist than Pathfinder.
Yep.
Yay! Okay, cool. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Join us every Monday while we do this all over again, assuming that the world remains in peril and keeps existing. We are on Twitter. We are at 7 Day Apocalypse. That's at numeral 7 Day Apocalypse. If you want to email us, whine, whinge, say nice things even, you can email us at filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. That's filmcast@thisweeksapocalypse.com. Okay? I feel like, John, you're gearing up to say something in Norwegian. Are you? Do you have a...
No, I just realised that I should have checked.
Well, you know what we can do? We can go to the bar and we can go get a drink here with these fine gents and give the traditional Viking cheers of... You gotta know this one, right?
Skål!